Greetings and welcome to the EnergyFocus Incorporated conference. It is now my pleasure to introduce your host, Chairman and CEO, James Tu. Thank you, Mr. Tu. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're staying safe and healthy in this pretty crazy environment. EnergyFocus as a essential business is providing lighting to both military and commercial businesses, and we see in firsthand how facilities are looking at the changes in their occupancy and looking to the next landscape after the whole COVID-19 situation settles. Obviously, everybody knows that there are going to be permanent changes to how facilities and infrastructures and buildings are being used going forward. And EnergyFocus is, we believe, well positioned to take the advantage of the opportunities ahead of us. So just some quick highlights about the company. Snapshot. The company has been a leading advanced LED lighting technologies and solutions provider. We've started developing LED back in 2004, led by our chief scientist, John Davenport, who was the head of the research for GE Lighting before he joined EnergyFocus. GE Lighting, as you know, was one of the largest lighting company in the world. So he was the head of GE Lighting research. So we have a pedigree of very advanced lighting research capabilities, and that's how we got into LED lighting in early 2000. First, with a partnership with the U.S. Navy to develop the next generation LED lighting technologies. If you fast forward today, we have become the primary LED lighting supplier to the U.S. Navy ships. Our lights are in almost every ship, and we continue to be the majority LED lighting product supplier to the Navy, and we're very proud of that. We also supply to several allied U.S. Navy, such as the Australian Navy, Royal Canadian Navy, and such. We have a developmental guideline, what we call triple bottom line, which means that all the products we developed has to bring significant financial, environmental, and human impacts. And that's how we develop our technology. If a technology doesn't do that, then we just don't devote resources to develop them. The management team today is new compared with what happened before April 2019. I rejoined the company. I was with the company between 2013 and 2016. I left in early 2017. The company was not doing well, when I was away between 2017 and early 2019. So I came back, restructured the company. We replaced the board, management team, and if you look at over the past year, we have made pretty tremendous progress. We've reduced cash burns. We have stock growing. First quarter this year, we just announced our earnings, our revenues in the Q2. You will still grow year over year, but because of the shipment schedule due to the logistic challenges during the quarter from the COVID-19, and we had to shift some revenues to Q3, but if you look at Q2, Q3, our pre-announce is between $4.5 million and $4.5 million, and that's gonna represent, and for Q3 it will be $6 to $7 million. I'm sorry. So that's combined to Q2 and Q3. You're looking at the annual growth over 50% at this moment. So we've made a huge progress over the past year or so. But the most exciting thing right now at the EnergyFocus is the introduction of the EnFOCUS platform, which we have done several webinars, and we've started selling this product, expecting delivery in late Q3, starting late Q3. And this, I will talk more about this platform shortly, but it's definitely a breakthrough in the world of lighting controls, especially for existing buildings. So this is just the overview about our quarterly financials. As I mentioned, you can see that our sales has been growing steadily over the past 2 quarters. Operating expenses cut down initially and started to grow incrementally because we are building the business, we're growing our team. Our inventory management has been very good. You can see that we have a lot of stale inventory when we took over, and it has come down dramatically. And so net income has, net loss has also been cut. So this is basically a quick write-up about the products we sell. In a nutshell, we supply more than 80% of the needs, indoor lighting needs for C&I buildings. And for the U.S. Navy ships, it's probably more than that. So that's sort of the company's focus, which is basically helping those facilities with long hours of operations, right? That's where the energy is being consumed, and that's where the lighting quality is impacting human a lot more, right? At home, you might be moving from room to room, so you're not in a space for a long time. But if you're in a school, in a hospital, or in office, you stay under that light for many hours a day. And we want to impact people from the energy, again, from the financial standpoint, from energy environment standpoint, and from human standpoint. So as I mentioned, we have always been a quality advanced innovator of LED lighting. So our customers are what we call, they run mission critical buildings, and then they're mainly in the education, healthcare, and U.S. Navy, obviously categories, but also, obviously commercial buildings, offices, and all that. If you look at our customers, they're all blue chip customers. A lot of them have used our products over years, and the U.S. Navy, for example, has been a customer since 2007. Their first installation of our LED product. We entered into the commercial market in 2010. If you look at all the installations we have done so far, the failure rate is well below 0.1%, and that's well below the industry average of failure rate. So we have always been considered a high quality LED lighting provider for mission critical installations. This is just a short history, and that I've already mentioned. As I mentioned, we got into the U.S. Navy, first installation in 2007, first commercial installation in 2010. We have had several products that are groundbreaking in the industry. Before EnFOCUS, we introduced RedCap, which is actually an integrated battery backup tube, where in the past you have to separate the emergency battery for the lighting during emergencies to comply with the egress code. With this RedCap product, it's actually functioning as a normal tube when the AC power is on. When the AC power is out, it turns into an emergency backup light. So it will last for a couple hours, and this has got very good reception, especially after the new management team took over. We started to focus on selling this product and educating the marketplace, and we're seeing very nice pickup on the interest of this product. There's, usually, every 10 to 20 lamps probably need a emergency backup battery. So you're looking at a market in the U.S. There are about 1 billion fluorescent fixtures out there, and if you look at just even 1/20 of that, that's 50 million RedCap type of market, and that's several $1 billion of addressable market just for RedCap. And again, this is actually a patented product, so we believe that over time, as LED tube proves to be the most sustainable format, for LED lighting for institutional buildings. RedCap will become a more popular selection because it reduces the cost, but also you just eliminate the separate battery, backup battery. Again, this is how LED lighting is integrating with other technologies in electronics, hardware, and software. There's microprocessor in the lighting, in the tube, and that can actually reduce waste, lower cost of installations, and improve product performance. The global LED lighting market, addressable market for just this commercial industrial is pretty vast. If you look at the C&I buildings, it's close to $100 billion. This is the aggregate total market in the next 10 years or so. And I think that the actual number is probably going to be bigger, much bigger, because you are integrating other controls into lighting as well, as we are doing now with EnFOCUS. And the street light, horticulture, and smart lighting, all combined, we are looking at a couple $100 billion of market size. And again, this is just on the lighting. If you look at the controls, the building IoT opportunities that's going to come along, and it's going to be bigger than these numbers. The other thing is obviously, as we have announced before, we have been developing UV disinfection lighting that will be incorporated into our lighting fixtures, our lamps as part of the EnFOCUS control technology. That will again push the market size, addressable market size, much bigger, right? Because now you are introducing not just a typical lighting product. You're talking about bringing disinfection into spaces, right? And the market value of that is going to be several times of lighting. And as I mentioned, LED lighting really, what's exciting about this industry is that it's going from lighting per se to lighting technology with LED. As you might know, LED is built upon semiconductor, right? And an LED lighting system very often and more often is involved with additional electronics, hardware, mechanical parts, and software, and in the future even cloud, right? Sensor technologies. And so we're at the very exciting stage. We always look at lighting, from the day of Thomas Edison to LED lighting. That's a stage where lighting is basically responsible for one function, which is giving light, right? And that has been very monumental in expanding and improving human civilization. 10 years ago, LED lighting started to be commercialized, and there's another function on top of giving out light that LED lighting was able to do, which is basically energy efficiency, right? It consumes a fraction of what incandescent lighting will consume, and at least half or more savings against fluorescence. What we are looking at now is in the next 10 years and to come is what we call human-centric lighting, right? And IoT lighting. Human-centric lighting basically means the lighting that impacts human health and well-being and physiological performances. And these performances will dwarf the benefits of, say, energy savings and environmental savings. And so this is what we are looking at, right now with the introduction of EnFOCUS, where we are able to provide circadian lighting. We're able to change color temperature, change the lumens, and even introduce UV disinfection. And it will be connected to, for example, providing occupancy sensing, social distancing, and all these additional functionalities that are building upon LED lighting systems. And then eventually we expand into the building IoT that will include energy management, building automation, even fire detection, air quality detection, HVAC controls, and all that. That's all going to come in the next few years as technology continues to integrate and evolve. And NHFocus is positioned to take advantage of these exponential technological development to produce more and more impactful products. Now, I want to spend a bit of time talking about EnFOCUS because that's the most exciting platform that we introduced this year. Basically, EnFOCUS is set out to enable buildings and especially existing buildings to provide sustainable and affordable human-centric lighting. Now, the problem with existing buildings is that to provide control is that to provide any intelligent control in existing buildings today, before EnFOCUS, you have to either pull a new Ethernet cable for data wires, so you can actually establish a control mechanism, path to between the switch and the lamp, right? That is very costly. You basically have to get into the wall and pull the wires through the wall, right? That labor cost is very high. The other way to do it is to introduce wireless protocol, right? Where you have, any type of either Zigbee or Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, any type of wireless protocol that can establish the connection between the control mechanism, which could be an app or could be on the switch, to the lens. That's also very costly, right? Because you need to design and commission the project. It takes a lot of time, a lot of complexity, a lot of labor. And even more important is that the users don't know how to use them effectively, right? There's also a very serious cybersecurity concerns when it comes to wireless communications, especially for mission-critical installations, such as hospitals, universities. They're very, very concerned about cybersecurity, right? So both of these paths are costly and complex. So that's why you go to most buildings, they don't have lighting controls. And I can, no matter where you are now, look at the buildings you are in. It could be the most advanced, newest Class A buildings, and the lighting controls are very, very spotty. I would challenge that you find a building that actually can change color temperature, an office building, a Class A office building in your city, in your neighborhood, and you probably cannot find it easily. And it's not because LED cannot change color. You can, right? The problem is cost to introduce the controls, and that's where EnFOCUS is changing the landscape. So before we go into how it does it, right, and why it's so important, and again, as I mentioned, basically EnFOCUS is a control mechanism that enable the existing buildings to provide control through the switch, and the communication between the switch and the lens is conducted through the electrical wire, the AC wire. So there's no additional wire needed. There's no wireless communication protocol needed. That's why it's so simple. It sounds very simple, but obviously there are a lot of technologies involved to make that happen. And that's where we have a patent portfolio worldwide to protect our intellectual property. So just a little background why we would need that, right? You look at circadian awareness. Basically, there's a circadian biological clock in our body that has evolved over millions of years. It's roughly a 24-hour cycle, and there's actually the visual aspect of lighting, which goes through our rods and cones to make us see things. But there's also a non-visual pathway that is very important. It's a very small part of the cells on our eyes, what we call IPRGCs, but they are actually the cue to provide these circadian rhythm changes throughout the day. So that's why the picture from really dark yellow to really bright blue, white, that's basically the spectrum you see throughout the day from the sun that reflect onto the earth, and that's what people see. And that provides a cue for your biological clock. And if you look at the impact of lighting on this biological clock, it's basically mainly into three different influences, right? And the first thing is the timing of the light. When do you actually get the light so you get the cue for your biological clock, right? If you're during the night, if you're sleeping, you don't want the light to be on, right? Because at that time, you want the melatonin to come out to help you sleep. Lighting actually suppresses melatonin. So timing of the light is very important. When do you actually get the light? And the intensity of the light, right? When do you, it's the intensity is very low during the day, for example, the light is very dim, you don't feel good, you don't feel alert, you don't feel productive because your body needs that light, the intensity of the light to suppress melatonin so you don't feel sleepy, right? So you can stay alert. Then you got the color temperature, which is CCT of the light, where it ranges from, as I said, deep yellow to really bright blue. Bright blue usually make you more awake because it's a higher spectrum, higher frequency of the light, and it really is most effective in suppressing melatonin. So during the day, for example, as a rule of thumb, you should, when you are working, especially when you need to be very alert, you want to raise your color temperature, right? And you want to have very strong lumens, brighter light. And throughout the late afternoon to evening, you want to start dim the light, and you want to start lowering the color temperature of the light. And how impactful is that, right? There are numerous studies that shows that, kids learn, 20, 30% better under circadian lighting. That's pretty amazing if you look at 20, 30% of productivity of learning. Think about the whole GDP could be 20, 30% higher because people are more productive. That's the amazing impact that people have not experienced so far because it was not possible before LED lighting, right? So it's not even possible, say, 10 years ago, right? Because without LED lighting, you just cannot manipulate the spectrum as easily. And then you need very easy control system to make that happen. And it has not happened until EnFOCUS was introduced. In work, for example, studies also show 20, 30% better performance, right? And if you look at the magnitude of these differences, right, there's a general rule of thumb in commercial real estate called 330 and 300, which usually means that in North America, it costs about $3 per square foot in utility cost, and total energy cost, about $30 in rent, and $300 in people cost, right, in payroll. Now think about that, right? Lighting is usually 20% of the $3. That's 60 cents, right? So LED lighting, let's say we can save half over conventional lighting. It saves about 30 cents per square foot. Now, if we can actually improve 20% of productivity of that $300, that's $60 of impact. $60 versus 30 cents, that's a 200 times impact, economic impact we're introducing to the facilities. That's why it's so revolutionary. And even 1% productivity gain is 100% of the energy cost savings. So that's why we believe that, as I said earlier, the first 100 years of lighting is all about giving light. The next 10 years is about, giving out light more efficiently. But the next 10 years and beyond is about how do we impact humans. And that impact is going to dwarf the impact of the previous two. So this is just a quick, overview. You can see from the left side, it's from 2700 to 6500 color temperature on the right-hand side. That's the range EnFOCUS is able to provide. And it's a very simple system with a switch and a lamp. You don't even have to replace the fixture, right? So that's the beauty about it because, the fixtures are mostly mechanical parts. When the technology is evolving so fast, it doesn't make sense to replace the fixture every 5 years when technology is better. And I'm not going to go through this easily. You can just read it from our presentation, but basically we're able to introduce human-centric lighting to existing buildings for the first time ever. And it's very disruptive value we're introducing. Compared with other control lighting technologies, we're about a third to a sixth or even less of the cost. That's why it's very disruptive technology. We're able to introduce them very cost effectively, but most importantly, the users will love it. We have tested ourselves, we've tested our customers, it's so simple to manipulate the light level and the the lighting spectrum, the color temperature. It becomes the next stage of lighting experience without any confusion. This is just our balance sheet. You can read it in more details. We don't have much of a debt. The company break even is anywhere around $7 million also at this point. So the faster we get there, the faster we are able to reduce losses. We have reduced quarterly loss from $2 million to less than $500,000 million over the past year. And we believe that with expanded credit facility, we should be able to get to where we want to be, grow the company a lot more. This is just a conclusion about what I just talked about. The last thing I want to mention is also the insiders, including myself. We own about 30% of the stock, so we have very vested interest in the company. So our interests are aligned, and it's a huge market out there. There are about 5.6 million buildings, commercial buildings, and over 1 billion fluorescent fixtures in the U.S. alone. So we're looking at globally also EnFOCUS is a global potential because it fits in all settings under fluorescent lighting. So and thanks for fluorescent lighting over the past 50, 60, 70 years, it's everywhere in the world. So the market is certainly very large. So we probably have 1 minute for questions. So the first question I got is, do you license your product to other manufacturers? At this point, no, but that's definitely something that we have explored and will continue to explore. And we just launched this product, as I said, EnFOCUS product, and we are starting to deliver later this quarter. And I think in the next 2 quarters, we will be able to see the demand from the market. So far, it looks very promising, and we definitely see that licensing EnFOCUS is a potential path to expand the reach of this platform. But today we haven't. Do we have any recurring revenues in our business model? Right now, no. I do have to say that the market is so big. If you look at the latest DOE report, LED lighting in the existing buildings, in the commercial buildings, probably penetration rate is probably around 15%. It's a lot higher, almost 100% in the new construction, but for existing buildings, still very low. So globally, you're still looking at a couple $100 billion of market opportunity, and the company's revenue today is very, very small compared with the potential opportunity. So we still have a lot of room to grow fast. The first time I was in the company, for example, we grew just almost 20 times in sales. If you look at apple to apple between 2013 and 2016. So and that was built mostly on the Navy business. So this market is definitely very big for us to grow fast for a number of years. The second thing is that we are launching new products, and those new products might have a subscription model or a recurring revenue model, and it's too early to tell. In the next few months, as we launch them, we will be able to elaborate. The last question is, can you briefly explain how your EnFOCUS solution is protected from competitors? As I mentioned, it is patent protected. We will continue to strengthen the patent, and we believe that it's well protected. And obviously, that's a big part of what we do. And we haven't seen any competition, that is able to provide what we provide and get around our IP. So we'll continue to watch and monitor, obviously. I think that's it. I think that's all I have. Thank you very much for your interest and time, and feel free to reach out to us if you have further questions. Thank you.